This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
Anthony for three. Bang!
How's it going, ladies, gentlemen, and sports fans alike? You're listening to the Ruckus and The Menace podcast, episode number 58. I'm Spence the Menace.
And I'm Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And on this episode, we have a special guest in the theming of Father's Day. We will be recapping up to this point, including the live update of the NBA Finals and the College World Series going on, or at least the last super regional games, and updating you on the Stanley Cup, including some headlines. We then get to our good, bad, and ugly, a little bit with our special guest, the color commentary, a primetime game themed around Father's Day, our studs and duds, and we call it a night. And we're just gonna get right to it. And I think, Ruckus, we should probably start with the Stanley Cup.
All right.
This is the one that is not in action.
All right. So we will start with Game 3, as it was pretty much all night, but it starts off in the first period with Brandon Montour as he scores the first goal of the game for the Panthers, and then Mark Stone ties it up for the Knights near the end of the first period. Then in the start of the second period, Jonathan Marchessault scores for the Knights to give a 2-1 lead in Game 3. And then in the third period, Matthew Tkachuk decides to do something as he scores a goal for the Panthers to tie the game. Yes, I went there. And then in overtime, Carter Venagaihi, I guess, I don't know, I probably really butchered that, scores a goal to finally give the Panthers a win in the Stanley Cup after getting slaughtered in the first two games. And then in Game 4, it is Chandler Stevenson in the first period for the Knights. He scores the first goal of the game in the first minutes of the game. Only thing that happened in this period, let's be honest here. Second period, finally the Crickets stop chirping, as in the second period the Knights go off as Stevenson scores, and then William Karlsson scores as well to give the Knights a 3-0 lead near the midpoint of the game. But the Panthers score right back with Brandon Montour to make the game 3-1 entering the third period. The third period has the Panthers scoring again as Alexander Barkov makes the game 3-2, but wasn't enough for the Panthers as the Knights are one win away from winning their first ever Stanley Cup.
And in their this would be their second Stanley Cup Finals appearance.
The last was against the Washington Capitals.
Yep, and the Capitals won that one. All right, so to shorten up here what is going on with the NBA Finals. In Game 3, Nikola Jokic with his 10th triple-double of the postseason, and Jamal Murray also having a 34, 10, and 10 triple-double in becoming the first teammates to do this feat in the same game to give the Nuggets a 109-94 victory to steal the first game in Miami. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo combined for 50 of Miami's 95 points. Or was it 94? Oh, it was not 50 of the 94, so they combined for over half of the points. And then in Game 4, the Nuggets had their leading scorer, or a couple of their valuable scorers come from unconventional sources, as Aaron Gordon led the way for the Nuggets with 27, and Bruce Brown added 21 more, as the Nuggets took a 108-95 victory to put themselves a game away from their first championship in franchise history In their first finals appearance, Jokic had a 23 and 12 double-double on points and boards, and Butler and Adebayo had 45 of the 95 points for Miami, respectively. Miami has still been getting a good bit out of their later round picks, and a good amount of value for what they've been getting. And currently at Game 5, back in the Mile High City, the Miami Heat are up 51-44. Currently at this point, at halftime, Bam Adebayo has been pacing the Heat and carrying them on his back.
Yeah, I was just looking at the box score. I don't see anything for Tyler Hero.
Scoring 18. Tyler Hero has not entered the game, but it looks like he's active for this one. And pretty much a lot of the points for Denver have been scattered. Jokic is already on his way to a double-double and has 4 assists. And I swear, if Stephen A. ends up saying again that it's like Nikola Jokic has to have 10 assists to win a game, it's scary how much of a post playmaker he is. But Denver has done something about waking up in the second half of games.
Yep, and especially with the help of Christian Brown, their one of their top draft picks from last season or last draft.
He's picked up steady minutes, and Bruce Brown has also picked up steady minutes. But the notable thing that has been up in this one, Aaron Gordon has only played 7 minutes due to getting into foul trouble, as he's already got 3 fouls on him at this point. So Game 5 looks like it. If the score holds the way it is, we may not see, or we may see a Game 6 and the series go back to Miami. But we still have 24 minutes of basketball. Other headlines this week: the big notable signing in soccer, Lionel Messi will be signing with Inter Miami on a 2-year deal. And this is huge because the Saudis were courting him for going to Saudi Arabia, just like Cristiano Ronaldo did last year. And this would have been a major blockbuster signing for them. But David Beckham and Inter Miami were able to court probably one of, if not the best player in the world of all time.
Wait, so is David Beckham like
He has an ownership stake and front office stake in Inter Miami.
Because I was like, is he still playing? But my guess is probably not.
No, it's from a front office side with him now.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
And the other notable thing is that the Men's College World Series is set to begin later this week in Omaha. The 6 teams who have already qualified are the Florida Gators, who on Saturday finished up their series with South Carolina. The University of Virginia Cavaliers, winning the 3rd game of a best-of-3 against Duke. Oral Roberts University, stunning the Oregon Ducks in a 2-1. The TCU Horned Frogs, taking out Indiana State to win the Fort Worth Super Regional. The Wake Forest Demon Deacons, cleaning house with the Alabama Crimson Tide. And the LSU Tigers, who put in the work and beat the Kentucky Wildcats. There are 2 games going on throughout the night that will still have time remaining on them, or at least still have games to play, leading into the College World Series, which we will know the entire field and a little bit more of what's been going on next week. And that is the Stanford Cardinal are currently up 6-3 in the top of the 6th inning against the Texas Longhorns. And at 10 o'clock tonight, the Southern Miss will be taking on Tennessee for the last spot in Omaha. And Ruckus,
Yo.
you think we're ready to let the guests come out?
All right, you ready there, Dad?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Go ahead with the prompt for the Sooners.
Boomer Sooner. Oklahoma Sooners win 53 games in a row, and that's their 3rd consecutive national championship in a row, which ties. I forgot the other team that actually did it. If it was one of the Florida teams or was it UCLA, and that makes them 4 out of the last 6 years and 5 out of the last, or no, 6 out of the last 10 years that they've won the college softball national championship. So I think they're getting towards dynasty era in that.
I mean, if they haven't already, they certainly are now. That's kind of been the way I see it. And
But
it's been a running gauntlet. But I know that also the transfer portal and NIL throughout all of college sports has affected a lot of that. A lot of that as a lot of great players from other universities go to these bigger ones for better exposure and NIL deal money because the exposure's there. And winning brings about more exposure for teams. And with Oklahoma doing that, I'm sure that could be a running thing for years to come.
yeah, their softball team is recruiting from all over, from California, Florida. I think transfers from Utah. Everybody's coming because they want to win a championship.
Yep. And now we go to our Clint Eastwood segment, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Wah, wah, wah.
Well, and we have a couple of good things that have been going on in sports. And the first notable one before we get to more basketball is going right into Major League Baseball. And that we have another player that has kind of been flirting around with 400 on the batting average, as currently Luis Arias is hitting 397 in the chase for 400.
Wasn't he hitting it like 402 though? Like literally earlier this week.
He was at 40. He was at as high as 403 about 3 or 4 days ago.
Didn't Albert Pujols go to like batting 500 at one point in his career? Was that 300 or 350?
I think it was like a career 300 hitter, but I think the closest one that I've recalled seeing flirt with this at a certain point in a season was actually Joe Mauer.
2009, 2010?
Yeah, something along those lines. I think it might have been a cover athlete year for him on MLB The Show. And then the last person to actually do it, Ted Williams.
All right, are we ready for let's go for it.
Yeah, but the other notable good is Nikola Jokic this postseason, as he has the triple doubles record for postseason, a 10 total, as I mentioned earlier, was the first to have a 30-20-10 triple double in NBA Finals history. There's a lot of other historic stats that may run a little bit deeper, but the interesting thing is that the stats for him don't matter. Only the wins. And he would rather win. And it looks like Jokic may seem like he's a boring player, but he's really good.
Yeah, and he has kind of like a funky run too, but the man can shoot and he can defend. That's pretty much what you need in a center like that.
Doesn't this certain unconventional style kind of remind you of a certain other European basketball player who could shoot the rock and was not all that fast?
Crap.
And was also a Western Conference player and an NBA champion?
Dwight Howard. That is definitely way off.
European Dwight Howard's American.
I done screwed up.
I'm sure Papa Ruckus knows what I'm talking about here.
Oh man.
Mutombo?
No, Mutombo was African. Dirk Nowitzki.
God damn it. I should have known that.
It's Dirk Nowitzki. It's Dirk Nowitzki with better passing. Oh my. All right, Ruckus, what was not so great in sports this week?
All right, my fantasy baseball first baseman Pete Alonso decided to look at the flick of the wrist too seriously, as he is now out for 3 to 4 weeks due to a wrist injury.
Oh, well, he also is the league leader in home runs currently.
Dude, he hit
22.
that grand slam so bad that he broke his wrist. Like, that takes a special talent.
Yeah, and the NL lead is kind of having somebody chase him right now, as another person is at 19 as of today. And that is Jorge Soler.
Former Royal.
And former World Series MVP.
Wait, he was an MVP with the
Braves? The Braves.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was the World Series MVP for the Braves.
You would have thought it would have been Freeman.
Well, I think Jorge Soler also hit that big home run that kind of sealed the deal.
Alright, Spence was downright ugly.
And this may feel like it's a little bit closer to home for me. But we also don't get them all that often here. And that's air quality on the East Coast, as wildfires from Montreal came down as they were caused by a lightning strike due to the warmer and drier air. And this impacted MLB games and NFL OTAs and mini camps across the Northeast, which pretty much at this point, I don't think Boston was as affected, because I believe right around the time this would have been major, I think they were in Cleveland. At the time, because I think they were playing a set with the Guardians. Yeah, they were in Cleveland, so they were playing the Guardians before going to New York and taking 2 or 3 from the Yankees. But but the city of New York was infected. The sky was orange at a certain point. And then it also made
it was intense.
And then the air quality also kind of made its way to DC at a certain point in time as well. As we got air qualities that were that had over 100 pollutants, which we don't get all that often.
Like LA in the 70s.
Pretty much. So that kind of took a lot of the wind out of some of the sales of air quality, and And it also caused me to delay a couple of days in mowing the lawn here because I was not going to do it in that crappy air quality. All right. But now we get to the high heat where, as we've heard from him earlier, our special guest
Papa Ruckus.
was Papa Ruckus, as we've kind of gone with for the for the theming of this. And the first notable thing is that we've kind of had Ruckus be like a major Chiefs fan, and we're gonna kind of start in that realm here of knowing that y'all are out there in that area, but you had ties to the Sooners as well. So what's kind of led you guys to go into the Kansas in the KCMO type of area, and inspiration to kind of just jump in over there?
Well, I've just been making that I-35 crawl out of South Texas and made it through Oklahoma. And then we were in the Tulsa area for a while. Then we came to Kansas City. So just work and life drug us through. Met my wife in Oklahoma. We went to OU, both of us, at the same time there. Saw one national championship while we were actually in school there for football. And their baseball team was pretty decent back then too.
Yeah, it's quite a lot different. I mean, over here in the eastern end of things, I mean, most of the success around here lately has been either with the high school or at the Division 2, because we don't have a D1 in near where I'm at, because all of them are about a couple of hours away. Because our couple of hours away being Morgantown, where I was at in November for that WVU Sooners game.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of one of those things. And was the Chiefs fandom kind of that stemmed down to Ruckus just kind of from you guys being out there in that area when he was a kid?
Yeah, because he's lived here his whole life. We haven't moved from this house since this place he's ever lived is here in Shawnee. And at one time I was a Cowboys fan until I was watching the Chiefs more and more, and had you almost have to, you don't have to convert, but I remember the day they traded a running back from the Cowboys. I forget his name. Going all ruckus on you here, but
Was it
Emmitt Smith? When they traded Emmitt Smith, I thought he would always be a Cowboy. He'd die a Cowboy.
You
and
talking Emmett to Arizona, or were you talking the whole before that with Herschel Walker to Minnesota?
No, it was Emmitt. I thought Emmitt would be a Dallas player his entire career, but when they traded him, I that's the last thing that kept me, other than not being able to watch the franchise in that time, unless you had some kind of NFL college football package and a satellite dish. It was real tough to pick up their games. You'd only watch whatever was prime time, because they'd always play Chiefs games here, or it's very, very seldom when you see a Dallas game. I actually watched Dallas in Arrowhead with Dallas apparel on in a January game.
Emmett was not traded to Arizona.
I don't remember where.
It was a free agency deal.
But
it was actually a free agency deal.
Yeah, but when he jumped ship, I decided that my allegiance were gone, and because uh, there's a big fan base here. I mean, there I'd say 80 to 90% of the people that live in this area are Chiefs fans. It seems like there's a lot of Raiders member people around and other opponents, but there's not a huge following for any other team. It's probably like that in most home
Heck,
towns of.
even in Europe, like in Germany and places like that, there's fandoms for the Chiefs as well.
Well, I'm sure there's just about every other flavor as well.
I'm in a weird place because there's about 5 or 6 different teams within about 3 hours. 3 hours, and then even more within 5.
Mhm.
And yes, that in that within 5 hour time frame also does include the not as popular around here Carolina Panthers,
Yeah.
and
Well,
and it would also include the Cleveland Browns, which would not be as popular here.
well, we're
But
about 15 miles from the stadium, so
yeah,
maybe
oh
20,
yes, you're
somewhere in
right
that
there in
range.
the heart. You're right there in the heart. But with us, that's especially around here. It's an hour and a half to MNT, an hour and a half to hour and a half, 2 hours to FedEx Field. But with me being brought up in Northern Virginia, that's kind of where the major roots of my mother's Commanders fandom. Well,
Yeah.
it was at the time the Redskins, but
Well, if we want to watch a pro basketball game, we got Lawrence about 30 or 40 miles away.
Yep.
yeah, because that's well,
They're looking to
pretty much
expand
the
here
college.
soon.
Yeah, we have all four. We have all four in DC. So, but then Baltimore's got but then we're not that far out from Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. But a lot from around here, we've got the hybrid fandom around here is so. I mean, there's always Cowboy fans everywhere, but and you never. It's Cowboys fans, Raiders fans. Those are typically the two most common ones that you see kind of just about everywhere. But then you've got the people who are Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, or Pittsburgh.
I think there's a lot of Green Bay fans that are all over the nation as well for some
Yeah,
reason.
well, Green Bay because it's a long-standing team. Bears fans, it's a long-standing team.
Aren't they like the founding teams, kind of in a sense?
There's some of the older teams. There's some of the older teams in the league. I mean, the oldest team is technically actually the Cardinals.
Checks out.
Yep.
I don't remember if the team that turned into the Chiefs was one of the originals.
Well, actually, I think there were two. Kind of like how baseball had two renditions of the Washington Senators become two different MLB teams. There was a team called the Dallas Texans that two different renditions became the Cowboys and the Chiefs. And of course, the Senators here in DC, the first one turned into the Minnesota Twins from back in the 50s, and then the 60s rendition turned into the Texas Rangers. So team relocation has been a thing. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it certainly changes allegiances for people.
Yeah. I guess in most regions, the Raiders going to Vegas.
Yeah, but I think there was still
They
Raiders
didn't change
fans
branding,
picking
but
up
they changed cities.
yeah. Well, and then of course you had the Rams and Chargers going to LA.
Yes.
The LA.
Yep. All right. And so your favorite Chiefs game of all time.
My
And I'm sure
favorite
there's
Chiefs
plenty to
game
choose
of
from.
all time is kind of like the way you'd ask a rock star what's their favorite album, and it's the last one they did. So it's the last game they played, and I particularly liked it when I was the only sane one in the house
Oh, shut up. Ski
after
it.
I saw
Shut up.
after I saw them go down the field and score. I was sold then that we had a really good chance of making this win, because everybody's worried that quarterback's going to be coming out hobbled, and they were going to come after him and then hurt him even further. That kind of, get those kind of fears going in your head. But once I saw him move around enough and to be able to make straight front runs, because they didn't expect him to run at all. Uh,
I
that's
think that
when it became apparent to me that this was just going to probably be a pretty good win. It's going to be hard to stop that.
it
And
was
it
definitely
was.
a bad grass. That turf was like that field was definitely not the best thing for the Eagles. Is I think they were the ones having to deal with cleat changes, and they just couldn't get to the quarterback because I don't think there were footing issues for everybody.
Yeah. Well, the Chiefs played on that same kind of field. It wasn't, or the same kind of problems. And their kicker got injured that day with a ankle sprain, or I don't remember how bad his ankle was, but he was out. The kicker was out for 3 or 4 games after that.
Yep, he
And
got
it
his
was doing
butt
the
kicked.
same thing
Knew
where he had
Butker was
chunks
out
of
for
the
a bit.
field just flying up.
Knew Butker was out for a bit this last season, so
Yeah. And it was because of that same field, same type of condition.
the same type of condition. Yeah.
Well, they
I,
resodded it, they watered it, and then they just rolled it in. They didn't leave it in the sun at all. So
Yeah, I think if they would have left it in the sun, it probably would have fared a lot better. And I think that must have been due to the care of the field. But I mean, they were playing this game. I think it was in Arizona.
yep.
That would have been a perfect
Bahonix.
place to leave it. That would have been a perfect place to leave it in the sun without killing all the grass.
I don't know.
I mean,
Evidently,
okay. I have a rebuttal on this whole sanity thing. I was more blown away that it came down to a field goal, and I kind of predicted that, and that's why I was like losing my shit. I mean, besides the Tubi commercial, because screw you Tubi for making me think that change the channel. That was the worst. I was so mad. I was like, who changed the channel?
Yeah.
you guys were clutching dust and making pearls. That's how
Shut
worried you
up.
were.
Stop it. Skip.
Oh, and of course, I was rooting for the other side.
Yeah, jerk. Boo.
I was rooting. I mean, when it's an NFC East team, and usually and the NFC and I thought the Eagles would have played a lot stronger in the second half, but it is what it is.
Well, they did.
But
They just came up against an offensive line that wouldn't let them through.
And the coordinator and one of the tackles are now in DC.
Yep, Wiley and Bienemy.
Yep, they're now in DC.
All right, do we want to get into the rest of the quick?
Well, I think the biggest one we've got left, really, that I think we kind of can go for a good bit would be Zeppelin. I'm about Led Zeppelin, and because I'm sure that he's got a few.
Oh, anything off that first one. Black Dog would probably one of them. Where you got Bonham playing drums without an amplifier. That guy, he was a loud drummer. some of the Eagles went to the same recording studio with the same engineer or producer, and wanted to mic up every drum. So, but so they could have, and they were in awe that they were playing at the same studio that Zeppelin recorded at, and the producer told them to just play louder,
Yeah.
just hit the drums harder.
Yeah, because that's exactly how they did it.
Yeah,
Was
Going to
just play the little-
California was a good one. There's a ton of Zeppelin songs.
Wait, you said Hotel California was the Eagles.
Yes.
I think I'd have said. So the first one that I think majorly got me introduced to Zeppelin, I think was Whole Lot of Love. But then Immigrant Song and Stairway to Heaven, I think were the two biggest ones that I would catch on, which I think Whole Lot of Love was 2.
I was
Might have been on the
more.
first one.
Yeah, Whole Lot of Love was 2. Immigrant Song was 3. And then Stairway to Heaven was 4.
I was more into Kashmir and Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, Stairway to Heaven was definitely. Actually, I think Black Dog.
I used to listen to album rock, so like the whole album all the way through. That first one was pretty phenomenal for a debut album.
And actually, I think Black Dog was also on 4.
Was it? Did I whip on that?
Yeah, Black Dog. Yeah, I think Black Dog was also 4. Because I'm actually double checking. I actually was double checking everything with Spotify. Yeah, Black Dog is the first track on 4.
I also like Baby I'm Gonna Leave You. That's a good one.
Let's see. On the first one, Good Times, Bad Times, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Dazed and Confused is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of gonna be really about.
We don't want to talk about his favorite Eastwood movie or best moment in Oklahoma football.
Well, I know we were talking about Oklahoma football, and I knew knew there was a national championship involved, so I'm pretty sure that was there. Actually, I think the closest that my alma mater of Shepherd got to one was actually getting to the national title game in 2015 and losing. But I think we could go into the Eastwood movies.
Eastwood. I like most of his stuff, but I like the old westerns that are. A lot of them are now politically incorrect, but one more recent is Unforgiven. That was a pretty decent one.
I think Eastwood had. I think for me, Eastwood was solid on the baseball movie front.
Trouble with the Curve.
Trouble with the Curve.
The Mule wasn't too bad. If you like Eastwood, for recent ones.
Yeah,
El Macho was terrible.
Or Gran Torino.
I said El Torino. Gran Torino, yes, was.
Cry Macho was the one I was thinking of that was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I watched that a second time, and it wasn't as horrible as I remembered, but it still wasn't all that great.
Yeah, that
My
that
favorite
makes sense.
Western is True Grit, and it's not the first one. I like the first one. It's the second one that they put out
The
just
remake.
recently. Yes.
Yeah, the 2010 one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was the one that eventually got like some Oscar nods too.
Yeah, with the Duderama, Duderrinno. Uh,
Hey, man. They knocked on my door, man, and they took the rug, man.
they really pulled the room together. Yeah, Jeff Bridges in the second one I thought was pretty good.
The Jesus
Yeah.
rolls.
That was the most horrible movie ever.
Yes, that was, and I'm sad to admit that I had to pay to rent it, and it was terrible. Dude, I'd rather watch Cry Macho 3 times in a row than watch the Jesus Rolls. My God, it is terrible. It is so bad. I was watching that with my dad and my mom, I believe, and it was the most awkward 2 hours ever.
Yeah, none of us would turn it off because you paid for the damn thing.
Well, I was thinking, okay, is this going to get any better? Nope, it gets worse. Nope.
You're like, nope.
Whatever. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, and then other than obviously the national championship, the best moment in Oklahoma football for you. I mean, Oklahoma
Um,
has won multiple.
I actually saw a live game in Arlington at OU Texas weekend, and that was the best atmosphere I've been at. Outdoor venue,
Oh,
Cotton Bowl.
for Red River. Oh yeah, Red
Yeah,
River. Yeah, that's not just any rivalry. That is probably the rivalry of what was the big or what is likely was going to be the Big 12.
yeah. I mean, they've played each other since it was the Big Six, Big Eight. I don't remember what all it's been called since. I think that's when it first started that I remember was that it had six, Big Eight, and
Yeah,
Big 12.
but now according to this college football realignment and their dealings that both Oklahoma and Texas will be going to the SEC.
Yeah, and that's happening real soon. That'll be next year.
Dumbest
Not this
decision
next
because
football season, but the year after that.
they were those two were the major linchpins of the Big 12. That conference is the Big 12 is now practically no more. And it wasn't the fact that WVU hopped into it, even though they wanted really to go to the ACC.
Yeah, I think TCU has come on pretty strong in the
Oh, in the Big 12,
last
yeah.
few years.
But Texas and Oklahoma were the major linchpins that kept that going. I mean, Kansas, you have basketball. Texas Tech, you've got hoops.
We got really lucky last season with the football for a little bit. We were undefeated, and then we decided we were gonna go back to our roots and suck. Kind of like in our
The KU
intro.
thing.
Yeah.
They won like 5 in a row. That's totally unlike them. They win one game a season, they tear down the goalpost and go and throw it in the pond.
Yup. Dude, it's like whenever they lose terribly in football, they'll just be like, "We'll see you in basketball."
Well, that's what they're used to. They're used to the basketball season, and that's how they roll. I mean, that's their big cup final. I actually at Oklahoma football, I actually saw Aikman and the Bosworth on the same field at the same time, several times. One was on defense, one was on offense. Aikman played there for 2 years. His freshman year was '84. I looked up his stats on his passing. Doesn't look like he played much in '84 because his attempts was like 20 overall. So that was back when they were a wishbone offense between them and Nebraska and Miami and whoever else. They were all most of them in the Big Eight at the time were playing wishbone, where you'd have two running backs and a quarterback that would run. So you'd have three running backs playing the game, and you'd either pitch to the first guy or the second guy, or you just keep it. And so you had to have a defense that could play an entire side of the field.
Yep.
And they weren't fast defenses back then. They were heavy guys that would push, because shortly before that, in the 60s and 50s, it was just like push for 3 yards and cloud of dust and then line it up again. It was almost like a rugby scrum. But when Aikman played against Miami, they broke his ankle in 1985, and they had won every game up until then. And they put in a guy named Jamel Holloway who took them to a national championship that year. And then Aikman transferred to UCLA. And then in the next year, UCLA came to Norman and lost, but Aikman wasn't quarterback, but because he was still under transfer protocol, he used to make you wait out a year.
Mm-hmm.
But OU used to switch between either UCLA or USC home and away games back in that time.
Yep.
And it was their UCLA's turn to come and get their whooping.
Yeah, I would say of course, it only been to one Division I game, and that was that WVU Oklahoma one that was really good. It was cold, it was rainy.
Well,
but it was back and forth.
Yeah, we have several Division I schools that are, I would say, fairly close. Missouri isn't that far away. You can go to KU and watch them play OU. That place clears out after about a quarter. You can sit anywhere in that whole stadium if they're not on a tear that year, which is most years.
Yeah. Oh, but it was like the fun part about WVU is like it's a win and you get the entire stadium. You get the entire stadium with playing, of course, Country Roads by John Denver.
Oh yeah.
And they will go. And they take it as a sense of great pride here.
Yep.
And that really sticks out.
Yeah, I've seen a few games at K-State because Parents' Day game.
Yep.
So I've seen a few there.
Yeah, because I know that's definitely Big 12, and I'm pretty sure that, and I know West Virginia's been there too.
Yeah, I've never seen them play live.
I would say the best years that you probably really would have wanted to see them would have been probably back in about, I mean, granted the 80s, but 2005 was a huge one too. And that was when they had Pat White, Steve Slayton, Noel Devine, that running attack that had pretty much right around the late Rich Rod, early Bill Stewart years. And of course, there was that year they went to the Orange Bowl, or went to one of the bowls and dropped 70 on Clemson. Of course, Clemson at the time had Sammy Watkins. But I know that we've also got It's like WVU isn't known for much, is known for quite a bit. And Ruckus even had to catch the whole thing. I think, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago when I said the whole white chocolate?
Yep. That came out of nowhere. I was not ready for that.
But Jason Williams went to, and this is the one with the nickname, went to DuPont High School, played high school hoops with Randy Moss, and they lost in a state championship to my old high school back in '94. So yes, we definitely are aware of, and I think that even gets talked about in that ESPN 30 for 30 Rand University, in talking about Randy Moss.
Yeah. You got
Yeah,
Moss.
so where they actually mention, of course, Randy Moss playing for DuPont High School, which DuPont High School no longer exists. It got consolidated into another high school in the area.
All right, are we ready for the color commentary?
Actually, gonna confirm. Yeah, I think we can move. Yeah, it moved into now. Basically with DuPont, it later joined formed Riverside High School in the state. So that's why I said it no longer exists. But we can move on to the color commentary.
All right. Here we go. So this week's color commentary is called "Good Idea or Bad Idea," and we'll start with Dalvin Cook. He was recently released, and a top contender for his services are the Miami Dolphins. Good idea, bad idea, or Cook to go there? I wouldn't. It would make sense if he went to Miami. They have the money for him.
I think also because he is a Florida native, it would make sense for him to go there.
Because it's him, and then because it would be him, Tyreek Hill. Because Chase Edmonds moved on, so it would be Mostert and Cook for the most part, right? Or Mostert move on.
I'm not too sure what's going on with Raheem Mostert, but Dalvin Cook is a Miami native, so this would be a hometown move before Dalvin Cook went to Tallahassee and Florida State. The running backs on the roster consist of Myles Gaskin, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson.
Okay, so they did
with
get
Dalvin
rid of...
Cook going there, he would be the third running back on the roster. Probably running back 2, because I think he would move above Wilson, or even RB1 with Mostert.
I think they would share time most of the part, or most of the time.
But I think that Dalvin Cook's play style fits well with a Mike McDaniel offense.
Yep.
Do I think it would put a little less heat on Tua? Yeah, especially if Dalvin Cook can get open. But I think the options here are way more toward good idea rather than bad idea.
I feel like if he wants more money, he'd be better off at Miami anyways, because they don't have as much star talent besides Hill and a couple others.
Yep. All right. Now, and of course, all of these are going to be in the NFL. The next one is Lamar Jackson. Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken has given Lamar Jackson the freedom to audible and allowed him to make plays at the line of scrimmage compared to Greg Roman. Good idea or bad idea to give him this liberty?
I mean, if the man's gonna run all the damn time and play running back rather than quarterback, I would just let him have it, man. Good idea.
Any great quarterback's going to have to pick up that skill.
Yeah,
That
any
too.
great quarterback's going to have to pick up this skill, and I agree here that's.
I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to pick up that skill, though. Ooh.
I'm wondering if he's got the capability of doing that, and I think this will really put Lamar Jackson to test.
I mean, when he played against Miami at M&T
Louisville?
Stadium, right?
Are you talking M&T Stadium? Yeah.
Yeah, whenever he played there, and it was him versus Tua, and they had like that shootout. I think he had a good resemblance of throwing, but that was the only time I really thought, okay, this guy can actually throw the ball. But I don't know. I feel either way, I think it's a good idea that he's getting the freedom to audible, like my dad said.
I think it's a
Gotta
good
learn how to
idea
do
to
it.
test him and kind of see what they're looking like here, and seeing what Lamar Jackson can really do, and really take a step up in his improv skills.
Especially with that big ass contract that he just signed.
Yeah, they've invested in him, so why not give him the liberty to see what he can do? The next one is Bryce Young. Early on in the offseason post-draft, Bryce Young has been elevated to QB1 for Panthers coach Frank Reich. Good idea or bad idea to throw the first overall pick and former Heisman winner to the Wolves this quickly?
Justin
It's a
Fields
bad
said,
idea.
"Go ahead." Sorry, bad idea.
I think it's a bad idea because he doesn't have the experience yet. Prove me wrong, though. It'd be awesome if he just comes out of the gate firing.
Well, it's a matter of, is he really ready? And I think that players like, most players will usually sit out at least a year. Sam Howell, it was most of the year. Mahomes, it was the better part of close to the year. I think Eli Manning was about close to a year. So most of them will usually end up. It's like, I think the Panthers are going to be in a position where the season will fall apart quickly enough that I think Bryce Young would have already been in the lineup anyway. But I don't know if he really is week one starter quality right away, unless we really get a good look at him in training camp and say, yeah, this guy's got something.
Maybe that sells tickets too.
I think that also could help too, especially because they're putting their number one draft pick out there.
Wasn't Justin Fields a number 1 draft pick for the Bears?
No. Justin Fields was not a number 1 draft pick.
Because it kind of reminds me of like the Justin Field type too for the Bears, but he didn't even start in the first games with the Bears. He was more so like halfway through the season, I think, in his first year with the Bears. But yeah, I think it's a bad idea for Bryce Young to be starting as QB1.
It's not a great idea, but there are reasons why you could say it's a good idea.
Yeah, maybe he gets all his jitters out and gets seasoned well halfway through the season, starts paying off.
Yeah, I think there were certain quarterbacks that you did that with. I mean, there was a lot of success involving Ben Roethlisberger in doing that. I think Big Ben was a notable one for that rookie season, having a great season his rookie year. And also, I believe that this also is something that involved this quarterback, Justin Herbert, who is currently recovering from left shoulder surgery while a potential contract situation has emerged. As the QB market has now saturated itself quite well, with contracts given to Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, is it a good or a bad idea to bring up contract-related issues to Herbert at this juncture, even with the potential of a fifth-year option to be placed on him? I know that this kind of is a very, very detailed question.
I mean, what are their options if they don't sign him? Start looking? Is their backup good enough? I don't even know who the backup is.
The backup was Chase Daniels, but he's more of a showpiece rather than an actual like QB. Um, yeah. I mean, how far along is he on the left shoulder surgery? Like, is he pretty much fully recovered at this point? You would think so, right? If they're trying to get his contract talks up going.
Well, I think his contract talks are definitely a thing because they have taken in his 29 million fifth-year option for next year.
Shit, I wish
So
I
he
could get
doesn't
29
become
million.
so he doesn't become an unrestricted free agent until 2025. So the real question is it smart for the Chargers to bring this up now or kind of in that while he's still cheap, run him this year and then kind of work on the extension into in next off season.
Well, it'll be healthy next offseason, so his value will be a higher contract. So in a business sense, they'll probably do it now.
Well, he'd also have another season of playing too.
Well,
So
they'll
that,
also put injury clauses in there that'll knock his salary down if he gets injured, stuff like that.
yeah, he underwent shoulder surgery for a torn labrum back in back at the end of January, and it was about 75% healed in late April. So
It'd be good to like at least entertain it a little bit, but not go full throttle on it.
yeah, so I mean that's, and they said he's looked good throwing passes following that shoulder surgery.
That's good because he had a cannon.
Yeah, but he fractured his rib cartilage in week 2. That also there was a labrum injury in his non-throwing shoulder. So it's basically his momentum shoulder.
Yep, friggin' Frank Clark decided to hit him where it hurts. Now he plays for the Broncos.
But the fifth-year option has been placed on him, so they actually have done their due diligence there. It's just a matter of whether or not it's really wise. I think that this is a good time for them to possibly look into it, especially seeing what he may bring long term. But I think it's still a little early yet. I wouldn't be surprised if you see something kind of come about mid-season that may involve some restructure of that front end of that portion next year. So I think if they look extension, it's more so to try and restructure that front end so that they could bring more key players in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe get him some offensive linemen to help him from getting injured.
They do have that Penei Sewell.
Yeah, I don't think their offensive line is bad. I don't think their offensive line is bad because Austin Eckler has been playing like a house.
All right.
And now that we've gotten through the color commentary, it is time for the primetime game. And the challenge here is basically name the family that is involved in these clues that I give. So it's a who am I in terms of sport family edition. I have one from the NBA, one from the NFL, and one from Major League Baseball.
All right.
And
One from the NFL, please.
the NFL. Okay. For 5 points, the campus of Ole Miss has an iconic speed limit based on the patriarch of this family.
I've got no damn clue, my dude.
Okay. For 4 points, though there were 3 sons, only 2 made the NFL, and the other brother has a son currently playing college football.
Wouldn't it be Tiki Barber? Am I
I think
screwed?
he's. This is painful. Go ahead.
For 3 points, the 2 sons that made the NFL outshine what their father did, even to the point of 4 Super Bowls combined between the 2 of them. And also with those 4 combined Super Bowls, 2 each.
God damn it. I don't know.
One of them was with Denver. The other one was with New York.
I really don't know, dude.
For 2 points, while all 3 attended SEC schools, the Pro Football Hall of Famer in the family differed in where he went as opposed to where his brother and father did.
Adrian Peterson?
Oh,
Nope.
God.
I don't.
Papa Ruckus has been more on track here.
It's the Mannings, dude.
Yeah. And I think that he was more
I
so
thought you were
on
saying.
track.
I heard running back and I was like, okay. That's
No,
why I was so damn
they
confused.
They were all quarterbacks.
I thought you said they
No.
were running backs the whole time. That's why I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Now was Archie the dad?
Yep. And the
And
reason
Eli
why
and
Yep, Eli went to Ole Miss as well, and then Peyton went to Tennessee.
then I guess Archie's grandson is now going to go to Texas.
Yes, Archie, and that is Cooper's son. I said though there were 3 sons, only 2 of them made the NFL. And the interesting thing about Cooper is that during that one little event that show that Peyton had with the college kids and doing trivia, Cooper was the co-host, not Eli. So that's why I said though there's 3 sons, only 2 of them had made the NFL. And Peyton Manning got his first Super Bowl with Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's on me for sure. I thought you said running backs. That's why I was like, what the hell? Like 2 Old Miss? Like, it's like, God damn.
No, I said the campus of patriarch, the father.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the reason why the campus of Ole Miss has a speed limit of 18 miles an hour.
That's what got me was the speed limit. I was thinking of running back for some dumbass reason. All right.
Yeah. No, like an iconic speed limit as in like for cars.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
Adrian Peterson? Where'd that come from?
No. I
Adrian
don't
Peterson went to
know.
Oklahoma.
Boomer
Yeah.
Spooner. He almost had a freshman running record till he got hurt. He had 100-yard games for 8 or 9 of them in a row. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to Google it, but when
Is
he
that
got
also
injured,
how DeMarco Murray emerged as well? Or was
yes.
DeMarco Murray before him? Yeah.
Well, if you want to talk about lineage back there, if we go back that '85 season in Miami, that was Jimmy Johnson was coaching there, and before that he coached at OSU, and then he coached in Dallas. And right behind him came the
Barry
OU
Switzer from.
Barry Switzer, just to prove that you don't have to do anything to win a Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, I think John Gruden did that too.
But there was and then when Jimmy Johnson was at OSU, he had Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas on the same field at the same time, I think.
Yeah.
They still couldn't win a national championship.
All right. And the question now is, do you want the NBA or Major League Baseball?
Let's do MLB, and then can we go to the next segment after that?
Oh man, I think the NBA one I have is really good.
Okay, we'll do both of them real quick. All right.
Okay. For 5 points, and I will do the MLB one first. For 5 points, this father-son duo both finished their careers with 319 home runs. Exactly.
Ken Griffey.
And this is
the
each of them.
Griffies?
Each of them finished with 319 home
The
runs.
Griffies had 500 some home runs, I think.
Griffey was in the 600s.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be? Wouldn't that be the Martinezes, or I don't know?
Nope.
I'm so bad at this.
Okay. For 4 points, both father and son played for one team in common. They've played for each of them played for multiple teams and were a little bit of journeymen, but they both had one stop that was exactly the same. The Detroit Tigers.
Um. Prince and someone. Why can't I think of the other fielder? Is it the Fielders?
Yeah, it is the Fielders. It's Cecil and Prince Fielder.
That's what I thought, because I remember I just couldn't remember if it was Cecil or if it was another. Because yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Father was not a first-round pick for the majors, but the son was. Even though the career home run totals were the same, the son played more games, scored more runs, drove in more runs, and had a higher career batting average. The father was a World Series champ and a 3-time All-Star, but the son was a 2-time Home Run Derby winner. So that is the Fielders.
Let's do the NBA real quick.
Though the patriarch of this family had more than one son play in the NBA, he, along with two of his sons, won NBA championships. All three of these won them with Western Conference teams.
Is it the Van Gundys?
Nope, it is not the Van Gundys. Actually, I think Jeff and Stan are brothers.
So father and son duos.
So for 4, one of the sons in the family won the 1996 Slam Dunk contest as a rookie and has the nickname of Bones due to his skinny build.
Was it Manute Bol?
Nope, it's not Manute and Bowl. For 3 points, the father was known for being a part of the Golden State Warriors. One of the sons won a championship as a Laker, and the slam dunk champ of this family, Bones, won his NBA championship as a San Antonio Spur.
I next one, please.
For 2 points, the two sons also at certain points post career tried their hand behind the desk as basketball analysts. One of them for ESPN, one of them for TNT.
Marv Albert and
Nope.
Okay.
And the father had a famous foul shot that was basically tossing it up granny style.
Yeah, I got nothing for you, homie.
This is the Berries.
Oh.
Rick Barry, who was the granny style free throw shooter. John Barry, who won championships with the Lakers during the three-peat. And then Bones is Brent Barry.
Oh, I wouldn't have gotten that one.
I knew that one was a little tough, but I thought that would have been a thing there. Breaking news. The Denver Nuggets win their first NBA championship with a 94-89 victory over the Heat.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Bam Adebayo had a 20 and 12 double-double. Jimmy Butler led the Heat with 21 points. Nikola Jokic had a 28-16 double-double. Michael Porter Jr. had 16-13 on a double-double. And Jamal Murray only had 14 points.
Congratulations,
so really,
Denver.
Yes, definitely a very good celebration for the Nuggets. I believe it looks like Jokic should win Finals MVP.
Him or Murray, they were both very good this series.
Jokic has had a series.
Yeah.
Yep. But we go now right into our stud and dud. Ruckus, I will let you go first.
All right, my stud will be Marquez Valdez-Scantling with the softball charity game at Legends Stadium in Kansas City, Kansas, where they had it was the offense versus the defense, and the offense won with Mahomes and company, and it sounded like it was a lot of fun. I watched a video on it, pretty cool. More interaction with fans. As far as my dud, I have the New York Mets. In their last stretch of games, they have not been good, especially with the fact that Pete Alonso is now out with an injury. They are even more ice cold than they have been.
About a mention of Griner having troubles at the airport again.
Huh. I mean,
Was it weed again, or?
No, it's paparazzi this time.
Oh, okay.
They told her she could fly, didn't have to fly commercial, and she just does anyway.
yeah. All right, and my stud this week is Novak Djokovic for passing Federer and Nadal by winning his 23rd Grand Slam event with the French Open this past week. But my dud had gotta be one of if not the funniest thing, and it is ironic as this just happened. Former UFC featherweight and light heavyweight champion, the notorious Conor McGregor, knocked out the Heat mascot Bernie and sent the guy inside the suit to the ER. And he didn't even know who was inside it.
Top of the morning to you.
Yeah, he is an Irishman too.
So you got registered lethal weapons attached to his arms there.
I mean, he is an MMA fighter and a boxer, and had that boxing thing with Floyd Mayweather. But man, McGregor just it looked like it was more so just a skit gone wrong, and it was like a freak accident. But it doesn't look like there was very serious injuries involved.
So he didn't pull a full bald one, just kind of half bald one. The guy is still probably alive.
Oh, he's definitely a lot. No, it wasn't like a full Baldwin, because Baldwin had a gun that. It was just McGregor is more known for his fists and just knocking somebody out.
But we were just saying he has they might not be registered weapons.
Huh. Yeah, and they basically are right hand Huda, left hand Fuki's this guy.
Yeah, 2 hits. Him hitting me and me hitting the ground.
All right, Ruckus, go ahead and shut her down.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace podcast, episode number 58. I am Ruckus.
I'm Spanish the Menace.
Thank you for this wonderful episode of the Father's Day special. Thank you, Dad, aka Papa Ruckus, for stopping by on a short notice, kind of. This was fun, and I'm glad that we got to have you on.
Boomer.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Deuces.
See ya.